and it will be important to include the fit principles within these, and to ensure that everything that is within the training program is based around trying to hit the end goal after the 6-week plan. Looking at client 1, we can see that they're a female that is 53 years old. They have no previous injuries or medical conditions, and they believe they eat a balanced diet. However, they snack during meal times frequently and probably enjoy one too many takeaways a month. They live a busy lifestyle, so each session can only be roughly 45 minutes to an hour long. They did also specify that during the day maybe training might be difficult, so earlier in the mornings, later in the evenings will be where they're set out. Client 1's target was to lose weight. They set the target at about 6 kgs, which is equal to a stone in weight in the 6-week period. And looking at the SMART principles and using these within training, it's just specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And just there, I was just writing some things about making sure that the targets, as well as being specific, are also able and achievable within that 6-week plan. And to ensure that we have met the targets at the end, or the person has met the targets, they're firstly obviously been weighed to see before and after to see about the 6 kg loss, but also a skin fold test to examine just what effect the 6-week plans had on body composition. Firstly, we're going to look at, I'm just going to talk a little bit about warm-ups rather than keep. The warm-ups will be for roughly about 10 to 15 minutes probably at the beginning of each session, and will consist of a pulse raiser, a dynamic stretch, or dynamic stretches, and depending on what activities we're doing, activity-related warm-ups. So the pulse raiser, all of this is obviously to get the body physiologically ready for activities and training, to ensure that they're warm and there's not as much chance of pulling and tearing of muscles taking place. And the pulse raiser obviously ensures that the blood is already getting around the body to able to supply oxygen to those working muscles. The cool downs, again, these will probably be for 5-10 minutes at the end of the sessions, and these will look at lowering the heart rate, ensuring that the body's returning to the physiological state it was in before exercise, as well as removing some of the lactic acid that would have built up during the session, to ensure that the effects of DOMS are not as large as they could be if the individual just stops exercise straight away and just goes on. So these and static stretches will obviously play a massive part in helping remove this lactic acid. So now moving on to the actual 6-week plan and week 1 of the 6-week plan, we can begin by looking at, on Monday morning, there will be a 30-minute circuits training session, two sets of the stations. There will be 4 stations in total, for 30 seconds on each station with a rest in between these. This is this obviously it will be at the beginning of the training session, so it will be slightly less intense than the other sessions. It will slightly lower in duration. It's almost like an introductory session. There will be the warm-up at the beginning, of course, the cool-down, and the individual will probably be working at 60 to 70% of their heart rate. They won't be fully, because it'll be the first session, and a lot of these stations will be include bodyweight activities such as press-ups, sit-ups, because these are great for helping individuals to burn calories. It's a brilliant way to burn calories. And this will then be followed up by a PM session of 30 minutes of low intensity running. This will be low intensity, so then again 60 to 70% of the individual's heart rate. And jogging's great because it burns up to 435 calories per hour. So all these are based around ensuring that there's a high amount of fat being burnt. So longer duration of sessions are important. Also winding this in with the high intensity stuff. There will then be a rest day on the Tuesday to allow the first session, as this is the first time they do it. We've all been there when the muscles have really ached after the first session because the muscles aren't used to it. So that first rest day just allows them 2 sessions to be flushed out, the lactic acid to be moved away. And then in the AM we then go back to interval training, which will be just 20 minutes of training with a 20-meter circuit. We start by jogging for 1 set of 8 different runs. There'll be 20 seconds rest in between the runs and a minute rest between the sets. This will then be slowly increased to 3/4 pace, where one set of 6 will be completed, and the same rest sprints will be going for 1 set of 3. Similarly to the circuit training, these will slowly increase over time. So as the 6 weeks go on, we'll be looking to increase the sets, increase the amount of runs that they do, while shortening the rest periods they have in between. So the interval training will then obviously help burn large sums of calories, because it will be fairly high intensity, probably medium-ish to begin with, at that probably 80 to 90% of the heart rate being met. But it's that longer intensity exercises that makes the individual use their fat stores to provide them with energy. That's key in order to lose and burn the calories and begin to see that weight loss. On the Thursday there'll be a 30-minute CrossFit session. This will involve running with moving with weights. There'll be some weights. There will only be, of course, very low weights. It just helps to really put the body under strain and helps just burn those few extra calories in order to see that weight loss. Moving on to the Friday, swimming is a brilliant exercise to burn calories. You roughly burn about 653 calories per hour when doing swimming, and also after all the running and the circuit training and the CrossFit with the little bit of weight resistance, it just takes it. Swimming, although you work in the whole body, it's not as there's not as much force being produced, or force. The body isn't having to take as much force because obviously it's a weight-bearing exercise, or a non-weight-bearing exercise. Moving on to Friday afternoon, where there will be another 30-minute cycling. The 30-minute cycling, you burn roughly 508 calories per hour, and this will be followed up by a 15-minute row. These were mainly chosen as they allow the individual to work for long periods of time at a medium intensity, again hitting that 60 to 70 mark, where that is just to begin with in the early weeks. Obviously later on we'll be looking at working towards the 80 or 90 and 90 to 100, but this early on, and this just allows for that initial burning of calories. The next day, Saturday, boxing training. This will mainly be pad work and alike, but this is boxing training is meant to be a great um, activity for burning large sums of calories, and it will be fairly high intensity for only like the half 30-minute period early on in the training program. Obviously, all these will increase over time, but to begin with, just that initial 30 minutes of boxing that will help really use the individual's fat stores. It's also important to add that later on we'll look at alternative exercises for these. Rest day. Sunday is a rest day just to allow for recovery from the week. Moving on to Monday of the second week, there will be a 35-minute continuous training. This will obviously involve no stoppages. We'll be looking at going between jogging, faster 3/4 pace training, and maybe move on to some sprints, but obviously it'll be the first time the individual's done this type of training. So it will probably require a little bit less, probably working again at that 60 to 70 mark just to begin with. And then in the afternoon, water aerobics. Water aerobics is meant to be a great one, as it is incredibly, you're using the whole body, really requiring to work hard. And for that, it's an activity that is allowed for that prolonged period of time, so that 45 minutes to really use up the fat stores, really burn the calories, and ensure that weight loss is occurring. Then Zumba. Zumba's a brilliant one for weight loss, as during Zumba, the whole body, it's high intensity, but also it's meant to be, it's a little bit funner. So the other stuff you might not enjoy as much. It might force them to dig in a bit, but the Zumbas just allows them to enjoy themselves a bit while still burning them calories and still hitting that fat loss. In the PM, it'll be 25-minute HIIT training. HIIT training is basically you go flat out for it allows for that burning of calories to take place. Then you've got the 45 minutes of swimming.